Serious, have you ever accidentally come across a Reddit post that was about you or someone you know? If so, how did that go? I am in a band, and we were looking for another band to split a rehearsal space. I was browsing the music subreddit for my area, and saw a post from someone looking to do the same, so I messaged the poster. I told them about the space we had, when we practice, price, etc. Turns out Op was my guitar player, so we had a quick laugh about discovering each other's secret identities. Once came upon a post of my own sister. She was in a confession/depression sub, can't really remember. Anyway, it was her talking about her lack of self-confidence and how she was struggling with anorexia. I remember talking to her about it and making sure she was okay. I think I talked to my mom without saying anything directive just to make sure that she would be safe. I was only about 14, it was heavy stuff. There was a highly upvoted post on r/trashy that was absolutely about my next-door neighbors who ran a hippie commune house. There were too many weird details for it to be anyplace else. But the author, who lived in the house, said he would never confirm even what city it was in to protect the identities of the people inside. I never tried to contact them about it either. It was a good story, well written, and gave me a better idea what their lives were like. I'd moved by then, that was also part of the story in the post, so it wasn't an issue and there was no fallout. For the record, we did not move because we saw someone having sex on the deck. We just moved to a bigger house. The only thing I wish is that they would publish part 3 as promised. Someone posted about how her dad died and her mom's name wasn't on his bank account, and she was upset that the bank wouldn't let her mom withdraw his money after he died. It just so happens that I work for the police department in that city, and it was definitely Op trying to withdraw the money, not her mom. The bank called because she was causing a disturbance. It sucks because it's a really great bank, and as a result of her post they received some horrible reviews online from a ton of Redditors who saw the post. A guy posted a screenshot of him sending me obscene messages on Tinder. This was before I had Reddit, with photos from my profile attached, along with my name. A friend of mine showed me. I felt angry about the messages to begin with, confused as to why he was proud of being a dick, and then uncomfortable being made fun of on the internet with my name and face showing for literally no reason. After he told me about a high karma post he had made, I was looking around my friend's Reddit profile. He had commented on a "what are you grateful for" post. He said he was grateful for my daughter finally being okay and allowed to go home after her extensive NICU stay. It really hit me in an already quite emotional time, as I hadn't really realized how strongly he felt. Tears. Someone I know found me. I posted about how my father was homeless, but recently started working at a hospital, as a janitor, and got himself an apartment. I had no one to talk to about how proud I was, so I shared it with Reddit. It blew up overnight and my aunt recognized him on the front page of Reddit. I had to delete the post in my original account though, because several people decided to harass me and tell me how I'm such a shitty daughter for letting him be homeless, a thought I already beat myself with. They refused to believe me when I explained I was a child during most of that time and couldn't provide him a place to stay even if I tried. Couple years back, a guy posted a cute dog pic on r/aw. He'd apparently rescued it starving from a junkie neighbor. Background and pic behind poster's house looked like generic countryside, although there were some distinguishing features. Almost immediately somebody asked if he was in XYZ town. He was. It was recommended he delete the pic in case dog's prior owner got wind, etc. It's not wise to post too much personal info on this platform. Lot of weird peeps out there. If they really want to find you, they can scrape innocuous details to triangulate URL. For example, say you live in a town with 50k people and on Reddit drop that you're a mail carrier, postman, that narrows it down to 100 peeps. If you then say you drive a green, insert whatever, car model and play in a wedding band, you've likely just laid a trail of breadcrumbs to your front door. Someone on Reddit found a post I made on another forum making a joke/prediction concerning Game of Thrones. Apparently I predicted the meaning behind Hodor 8 years before the show revealed it. I became internet famous for 3 days or so, including interviews with Newsweek and a radio program, before fading back into obscurity on the web. Now it's just a fun story to tell. Funny thing is, I posted in the Reddit thread and I don't think hardly anyone believed I was the real Merthin. Me and my friends all are on Reddit, so we all know each other's Reddit accounts. I was bored one day, so I decided to search one of my friend's account on Reddit. Looked through some of his posts and comments, and found out that he had a crush on another member of our friend group. And I haven't looked at the way he talks to them the same again. I haven't told him that I know, though. This was on an old account of mine. I make a new account every so often for privacy reasons. This was before they had tightened the rules about doing AMAs, and anyone could toss one in. Someone I know who worked at the same place I did an AMA about our workplace back in 2011, and shared a bunch of crazy stories about things they did, were involved in, or witnessed. The problem is, almost all of the stories were false, and many of them were outright lies, and the stories that involved said person were twisted to make them the victim and or hero of the story. They called out our workplace by name and location, and then just completely made shit up for multiple pages. This was a highly upvoted AMA, lots of replies, and it was really not cool. I didn't necessarily have an affinity for our minimum wage workplace, but sharing completely false stories like someone writing on the walls in period blood, or fellow coworkers doing completely immoral and illogical bullshit on the clock, not a good look. I mean, we had plenty of interesting stories someone could tell, but they were just making shit up for the most part, or greatly exaggerating it. The one that really ticked me off was a story about a surprise inspection with corporate, which did happen, and we did have to do one somewhat iffy thing to fix an issue we would have gotten dinged on, but would not have been noticed by the general public. It was a minor issue that corporate would really care about but not many others would, but this person somehow inserted themselves into the story as a person going from space to space fixing all these issues, like a superhero. I was the guy who fixed the one issue with a supervisor. Said person didn't do shit. I think I was the only person to find it, so I replied with some very clear details about our workplace that only someone who worked there would know, and then something like, "Don't you think it's a bad idea to lie about where you work with details that identify who you are?" And they deleted their account shortly after, along with the AMA. They would have gotten fired and probably in some serious trouble for breaking confidentiality agreements over and over again. Saw a post about a friend of mine who got into some legal trouble on base while he was in the military and made local news. I think it may have been a blip in national outlets, but locally it was a big story. People were getting facts completely wrong and making all kinds of insinuations that made no sense, and I could only figure people were just trying to get internet points for their hot takes. I didn't get involved because I know too damn well when certain communities of Reddit decide they're right about something, trying to step in is way too much stress than anyone needs for a lifetime. I did show him the thread. His response was "fuck those people," rightfully so. I'm a game developer and I've come across posts where people tried their best to make a lot of shit posts to try defaming me. They would make a lot of comments like I had inserted a backdoor into the game client and hacked their computer, and acting as if I destroyed their whole system and got them fired. Honestly, I didn't bother replying to these accusations until their beef with me spilled over into my personal Discord. Long story short, they accidentally said some extra info they didn't mean to share and I finally connected the dots that their vendetta against me was because I had personally banned them from a small-time online game in which they had botted and exploited their way to near the top of the scoreboards, and they weren't too happy they lost all that time they invested into their character while literally being AFK and essentially causing a huge economic unbalance. They've threatened my life and self-destructed in their public hatred towards me so many times that we honestly just never permanently banned the guy from our social media because it was far too entertaining to watch. Like all children, he eventually got tired, ran out of breath, and stopped talking. Girlfriend's account where she was asking for advice on how to mend our relationship. I never told her I knew her name. It's a very specific inside joke event in her life and all the details match, and I made it a point not to creep. This one was very popular and I already frequented the given sub. While I feel like the problem was on both sides, all the Reddit comments were about how poorly we communicated about serious things, even though our normal communication was fantastic. The comments were so helpful, and it is because Reddit came in at our 11th hour that we decided to push our engagement off for 2 years to really learn how to communicate well. This was 3 years ago and I am marrying the love of my life at the end of the year. Thanks Reddit, truly. Grimacing face. I found a close friend's account and saw he posted frequently about being depressed and potentially suicidal. I eventually texted him, but I didn't know what to do at first. Tell his family? No, that's embarrassing for him and doesn't really do much good if he can't afford to get the healthcare he needs. I honestly think about him almost every day. I don't text him a lot because I don't know what I'd say, and I also don't want to smother him. I still check his profile regularly, and he just posted about going to therapy for the first time, and it made me feel so relieved to read that. Well, this is still a little raw and embarrassing, but fuck it. I had a breakdown back in May after being barricaded in my classroom during a school shooting. I was really struggling with shit back then. The shooter was one of my classmates and the kids who were killed were in my department. I was walking through a fog for about 5 days after it happened and decided writing might help. So I wrote out what I went through and shared it. I was hit by trolls who started calling me an attention seeker, when really I was just trying to sort through my emotions and find help/find someone who might understand what I was going through. In my fragile state of mind I broke my sobriety and attempted suicide, but posted something on r/suicide watch before it all went down. Someone recognized my handle and called the police. Very well may have saved my life that night. But still, it was a little embarrassing. Just being in that state of mind and knowing someone I know recognized me. I still don't exactly know who it was that called the cops. I have my guesses, but I would rather just keep the past in the past. I'm once again sober and doing well if anyone was wondering. Graduated, got into therapy, got a new job, removed the toxic people from my life, and currently training for a half marathon. Life ain't so shitty. My brother came across my account through a random comment I made about us when we were kids. He then went through my history and saw all of my posts on different suicide subs. I could tell it was a bit awkward for him, but he reached out, in person, to make sure I was okay. I can't say things are perfect now, but they're much better. I've gotten out of some bad situations and at the very least, I'm going to college and I have hope. Additionally, I've got a stronger relationship with my brother and I feel a lot more comfortable talking to him now. I still feel bad that he found out that way, though. My siblings knew I was depressed because of a lengthy inpatient visit, but I don't think they knew the extent of it. There was this really toxic user a few years back that got banned from Mass Credit for constantly attacking other users and breaking other rules. This was before new mod mill and so whenever a mod responded, they would see our username. I happened to be the mod that talked with him after he was banned. I wasn't even the person that banned him, but he just went off. Some time later I come across comments by him making fun of my past of self-harming and about how he wished I committed suicide because he wanted my final memories and feelings being of self-loathing and trauma. It was fucked up seeing someone filled with so much hate for me. In December 2012, I walked by my ex's car in the parking lot at my university. I knew it was her car because of the stickers on it, but it had different plates, which indicated to me that she was still with the man that she had left me to be with. I had no idea why the car would have been there, but it made me think about how things ended between us. I reflected on how poorly I reacted when she left me, and I felt happy that after however many years had passed, she was still with the same guy. I remembered him as having been a decent man and I knew they had a child together and out of Christmas cheer or something, I suddenly wanted to bless their family in a small way. So I googled the account name that my ex used to use for everything hoping to find a public Amazon wish list so I could anonymously send a gift. I realize that probably sounds crazy. I did find an Amazon wish list. But I also found recent Reddit posts in which she posted all kinds of factually inaccurate things about me and my family. She even said I was physically abusive and that I smelled bad. Neither of those statements were true, though I realize me saying so proves nothing. I was so hurt. There are true things she could have said about the ways in which I was a shitty partner, but instead it was all these crazy lies. I didn't send a gift. I joined Reddit because my kids were talking about it and I wanted to see what it was all about. I quickly started finding interesting threads and started enjoying it. One day on Reddit I came across a post about an abusive stepmother. Reading the responses, one in particular sounded interesting and everyone started responding to it. As the commenter responded, it sounded kind of familiar but knowing it's a 1 in a million chance I disregarded it. But, as more comments were made and responded to, I checked the profile and it fit my adult niece who is NC for many years. I spent the afternoon reading her posts and even one of them had a link of a pic of her. It's so weird because she shared some very personal things about herself that explained some of her behavior. She would be mortified if she knew I read her posts, but of course I can't unread what I did. In college I ran a small student-run publishing company. I recently came across the account of someone's book I had published. It was very sad because they took their own life and a lot of his posts focused on the depression he had and how difficult life was. He was a brilliant writer and had a really promising career, but depression consumed him. I never got to meet him when he was alive but encountered his intellect, sense of humor, and personality through dozens of stories and poems, including some that weren't even published. It makes me feel better knowing that his parents and friends have a physical copy of his book now, which gives them the chance to visit a piece of him anytime they open his pages. It still hurts that I found his account though, and wish I had found it while he was still alive to maybe try and do something to help, because as good as his book was, and it was really fucking good, I guarantee that his loved ones would rather have Dylan in their lives than his book.